In the space of roughly 48 hours, the world went from reading detailed reports of a planned bombardment of Iran's energy infrastructure to hearing the American president say the strikes are off. That is where we stand this morning, Sunday the 2nd of August 2026. On Friday the 31st of July, CBS News reported that the United States and Israel were preparing to hit energy-related targets inside Iran, and Reuters carried the story within the hour. By Saturday evening, Washington was telling its citizens across the Middle East to be ready to leave at short notice. Then, in the early hours of this morning, at around 2:45 UK time, the BBC reported that Donald Trump says he is cancelling the strikes, on the condition that a deal is made rapidly. Nothing has been signed. No timetable has been published. In the next few minutes we will unpack what was actually reported, what changed overnight, and what it means for oil, shipping and the region. Let us be precise about the reporting, because precision matters here. CBS News, citing sources, said on Friday the 31st of July that American and Israeli planners were preparing to bombard energy-related targets in Iran. Reuters reported the CBS story the same evening. Anadolu Agency in Turkey, the Arab Weekly and the Palestine Chronicle all carried versions across the weekend, with the Palestine Chronicle framing it as Trump weighing major strikes while Washington and Israel coordinate. 3 points stand out. First, the target set described was energy infrastructure, not the nuclear program and not primarily air defenses. Second, the sourcing was anonymous officials rather than an announcement, so this was a plan under discussion, not an operation confirmed. Third, neither the White House nor the Israeli government publicly confirmed the specifics. When the same claim appears across Reuters, the BBC, and CBS, the underlying reporting is often a single well-briefed thread. Treat it as credible, but not as a declaration of war. Then came the reversal. In the early hours of this morning, Sunday the 2nd of August, the BBC reported that President Trump says he is cancelling the strikes on Iran, subject to a deal being made rapidly. Read that sentence carefully, because the conditionality is the whole story. This is not a withdrawal of forces, and it is not a stand-down order verified on the ground. It is a public statement that military action is being held back while negotiations are given a chance, with the word rapidly doing an enormous amount of work. No deadline has been made public. No terms have been published. No venue or mediator has been confirmed in the reporting so far. What we can say is that the announcement came within roughly 36 hours of the strike planning becoming public, which is a very short window. Whether that sequence was coincidence or deliberate pressure is exactly what analysts will be arguing about all week. Alongside all this, one signal has not been withdrawn. On Saturday the 1st of August, the BBC reported that the United States was urging its citizens across the Middle East to be ready to leave in the event of regional escalation. That kind of advisory is not issued casually. It sits at the practical end of contingency planning, and it usually touches embassy staff, dependents, contractors, and ordinary travelers all at once. For British viewers, the read across is straightforward. If you have travel booked to the Gulf, Israel, Lebanon, or Iraq this August, check Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office advice before you fly, and check it again on the day of travel, because advisories can change within hours. Also check whether your travel insurance excludes cover for regions under an official advise against travel notice, because most policies do. Canceling a set of strikes does not automatically cancel the military and civilian posture that was built around them. Why does the phrase energy infrastructure matter more than almost any other target description? Because of geography. Iran exports the overwhelming majority of its crude through a single terminal complex at Kharg Island in the northern Gulf, which makes its export capacity unusually concentrated for a country of its size. Just as important, the Strait of Hormuz sits at the mouth of the Gulf, a shipping lane about 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, through which roughly a fifth of the world's oil consumption passes every single day, along with a very large share of seaborne liquefied natural gas. Striking energy targets inside Iran is therefore not a contained act. It creates an obvious incentive for retaliation against shipping, or against the export terminals of neighboring producers. That is the escalation ladder markets are pricing, and it is why oil traders react far more sharply to headlines about refineries and terminals than to headlines about almost any other target. So what is the practical impact today? 3 things are moving. First, risk premium. Crude has been trading on headline risk rather than on supply and demand fundamentals, and when European and Asian markets open after this weekend, the cancellation and its deal condition will be the first thing traders test. Second, shipping and insurance. War risk premiums for tankers transiting Hormuz rise quickly on reporting like this, and those costs feed into freight rates within days, not months. Third, aviation. Airlines routinely reroute around Iranian and Iraqi airspace when strike risk climbs, which adds flying time and fuel burn on Europe to Asia and Gulf routes. For households here in the UK, the transmission is indirect but real. Higher crude works through to forecourt petrol and diesel prices with a lag of roughly 1 to 2 weeks, and it complicates the inflation picture the Bank of England is currently working with. Where does this go in the near term? 3 scenarios are worth holding in mind, and today's evidence supports watching all of them. The first is genuine de-escalation, where the cancellation holds, talks begin quickly, and the strike planning turns out to be leverage that was never used. The tell for that would be a named negotiating channel and a date within days. The second is a pause rather than a peace, where the word rapidly quietly expires without a deal and the same target list returns. The tell there is whether the evacuation readiness advice is relaxed or reinforced. The third is escalation driven by a third party, because Iran's regional partners and Israel's own decision-making are not controlled from Washington. Watch 3 concrete indicators this week: any official confirmation of talks, any change to embassy staffing in Gulf capitals, and tanker traffic through Hormuz, which is publicly tracked and reacts before politicians speak. Here is the takeaway to hold on to. In under 2 days, this story moved from detailed reports of planned strikes on Iranian energy targets, through a warning to Americans across the region to be ready to leave, to a presidential statement that the strikes are cancelled if a deal comes rapidly. All 3 of those things remain true at the same time, and that is precisely the point. A cancellation that depends on a deal which does not yet exist is not the end of a crisis, it is a clock. The most reliable signals over the coming days will not be statements, they will be measurable: tanker movements through the Strait of Hormuz, embassy staffing levels, airline routing, and the oil price. Watch those and you will know which way this is heading before the headlines catch up. Follow reporting from the BBC, Reuters, and CBS directly, and check FCDO advice before any Gulf travel.